Crafting all night long with Tammy. Spooky projects feel so jammy. Fake diaries, our delight. Halloween, we own the night.
Hi, I'm Tammy, and welcome to the Fake Bake Diaries. If there was ever a time when you wanted to use something different than a plastic skull, well, here's a way you can do it using foam clay.
Crafting with a twist, Fake Bake Diaries.
To make our skull today, I'm going to be using this really big skull silicone. You can get it from Amazon. I've seen them on Temu as well. They're really nice large size to make the skull. I've already conditioned my foam clay. Conditioning means I've already kneaded it. The foam clay I'm using is Bose. You can get them in the big buckets like this in white. You get them in colors and you mix them together. I've mixed my red and white together to get this pink. I'd like it really thick all the way around. Doesn't have to be exactly the same, but keep it very, very thick. Now I'll take my skull mold and carefully put this into it. I want to keep it thick on the skull's face, so I'm not pushing this all the way down. If I do that, it will stretch out the sides and make this part thinner. I'm slowly just trying to push it in from the sides so that we don't lose the thickness.
Eerie nights we search for crafts, Halloween's coming fast. Tammy's got the tricks and treats, making ghouls out of foam sheets. On the screen, glitter witch is quite the scene. Glow in the dark, apples too sweet, clay ghosts for me and you. Crafting all night long with Tammy. Spooky projects feel so jammy. Fake diaries.
It's important to keep all of this detail, so I'm trying to hold this in and mold my clay around it from the inside. So if you can see, that's one of the skull's eyes.
Stripes on witches' hats, pumpkin pies and skeleton bats, creepy spiders made of wood. Tammy tips are just so good. Candy corn and plastic eyes, fake bake diaries, no surprise. Bring the spooky to our home with craft ideas we'll never own.
If I don't push against his teeth, I won't get all of the detail of his teeth imprinted into the foam clay.
Bake diaries, our delight. Halloween, we own the night.
Now I'm going to work on his jawbone and into the little divot up by the temple. I'm going to take some excess that I don't need here and place it down by its mouth. Around the edges, they're raised. I'm going to flatten them out. Make sure that your inside edge here is not higher than the outside edge. I'm taking the very inside edge and just pushing it down a little bit. Now we're going to do the same thing to the back of the skull. I'm happy with this. It's nice and thick. I'm choosing to put the smoother side on the back of the skull. Again, I'm just going to drop this in without pushing down at the bottom. Just slide this in, push it in from the sides and up at the top so that you are not going to lose your thickness at the bottom.
It's that time of year, Code Orange is here.
This one doesn't have a lot of detail on the back, so I'm going to just push it all in and make sure it's nice and thick at the bottom and thick at the sides.
Race, pumpkin spice embrace, witch hats and candy corn, spooky things adorn. Code Orange, let's go, haunted dreams on show, goblins in the aisles, making spooky smiles.
Turning it over. This area on the skull at the back is a bit flat. Try to make that flat from the inside. So this is where I'm placing pressure, both from the inside of my hand. So I'm putting pressure here, and I'm putting pressure from the outside. I'm making sure that I'm shaping the foam clay into that indent without thinning it out on the inside. And finally, I'm just making sure my edges are down. Foam clay is likely to shrink a bit away from the edges as it dries, and that's completely normal. Now I'm going to fill the inside of the skulls. If you were to take your foam clay out as it is right now and try to dry it, turn it upside down, or try to dry it on its face, it would just all collapse on you. So I need to fill the insides of these to make them nice and solid and sturdy. I'm going to use tight foam from Lepage for gaps and cracks. You can find this at Walmart or any of your hardware stores. This is one of my favorite ones to use because it has a really solid density to it and everything turns out nice and solid. So this is the trigger. Pull it off the side. Then you have to shake it for 30 seconds. And I've already done that. Take the top, push it on. Yeah, that clicks. If you see this part is going to click, that part's going to click. If I push down. And there was a little red piece right in here that you have to pull out so that you can push down your nozzle. When you spray, you always spray upside down. This stuff really expands. So we're just going to fill it up about 1/3 of the way. I'm going to jiggle this a little bit to make sure that it's settling down at the bottom. I'm going to let this raise for a few hours. These ones have been in here for at least a week. They're not dry at the bottom because I left them in. So they're not all quite dry on this side. So you can't let it dry all the way through in the silicone mold. That's clearly not going to happen. So I'm going to flip these over. So I'm just going to spray inside here.
A specter's touch, a whispered lie. Oh, poison love will take your place.
We're going to let that sit and rise. It's been 24 hours. The foam spray has all risen. Now I'm going to take these out of the mold. Now here's today's crafting question. This is a shout out to Lisa Marie, one of my subscribers. Her and her son go all out decorating outdoors for Christmas and for Halloween. I'm wondering, do you go all out decorating for Christmas or Halloween or both? Do you go all out decorating inside or all out decorating outside or all out decorating both? Put your answers in the comments below and I look forward to reading all of your responses. On the inside of the mold, they're still wet. If you get any pieces that look like this, take your thumb and smooth it. I'm going to put a layer of Mod Podge on top of this to help with any other cracking that might happen. To let this dry, I have 2 skewers. I'm going to poke these up into the middle and then poke them into some styrofoam and that will dry.
Bitter beats, crafting in a haunted house, witches laughing, ghouls aroused, pumpkin pies and ghostly cake, Halloween fun for goodness sake.
I'm going to let it dry for about a week because it's so thick. This skull that I made in purple, I left it for a week to dry inside of my mold, which I should not have done. So all of these parts that we could rub off on the other one, they're dried in here. After it's dry, you can take a sanding sponge. That's a 180. You can take a 100, 150.
Halloween fun for goodness sake.
Oh yeah, he's looking really good. This is what he looked like before. And you can see it just all smoothing out without a problem with the sandpaper. If you don't want to smooth it, sand it after. You just have to make sure it's completely dry. These are all dry now. I didn't notice that there was a spot that I would have smoothed a little bit more. I did try sanding it with the Mod Podge, but it really doesn't work well at all if you're trying to sand after you put the Mod Podge on. So if you're looking for something that is close to perfection on these skulls, when you remove the skull from your mold, don't put Mod Podge on it right away. Let that dry for the week and then sand it. And after you're satisfied with the sanding, then put Mod Podge on it. Now I'm going to put these two together.
In a haunted house so dark, ghosts and goblins bark. Styrofoam and clay in hand, crafting all night, it's grand. Witches, bats, and a cat so black. Paint and glitter piled and stacked. On TV, the fake bake show. Watch the spooky crafts glow. Witches, bats, and a cat so black. Paint and glitter piled in a stack. On TV, the fake bake show. Watch the spooky crafts glow. Crafting in the night, under eerie light. Whispers from the walls, in
I cut to try to make this as flat as possible and making sure that there's no humps in the middle of it. You're always going to get a gap. You just want to minimize it. That's looking good so far. I'm going to take my original Gorilla Glue and glue this together.
The crafting stories it tells, glitter flying in the air, haunted crafts everywhere, crafting in the night, under eerie light, whispers from the walls in this haunted hall. Crafting in the night, under eerie light, whispers from the walls in this haunted hall.
These elastics will hold it together as it dries, and I'll let this dry for 24 hours. The glue is dried. Now we're going to fill in all of the gaps. This is the extra clay that I had left over when I made this. I'm going to push this in and fill the cracks.
In my kitchen late last night, planning mischief under moonlight, crafting up a spooky tree, fake poison apple can't be beat. Witches cackle, eyes so wide, magic brewing by my side. Apple red and toxins fake, little kids' hearts gonna quake. Brew it fake, mix it right for a bit of Halloween fright. Ghoulish apple tastes so sweet, fake poison makes it neat. Glossy finish, eerie sheen, scariest snack you ever seen. Crafting marvels for the night, giving tricks a spooky bite. In the cauldron, stir it slow, make it shimmer, make it glow. Fake's the magic that we make, giving all a little shake. Spooky baskets, gifts abound, laughter rising all around. Lace it up with dream and scream, fake poison apple Halloween gleam. Slow, make it shimmer, make it glow. Ooh, ooh. Fake's the magic that we make, giving all a little shake.
I smoothed all the edges as far as I could go, all the way around, and all these little bits, they'll just brush off. And now I'm going to set this to dry. Here's our purple skull. I haven't done any more sanding. I'm going to do all my sanding at the very end.
There's a small town down the highway where the fields are all aglow. Folks gather around for fun times, watching autumn leaves blow. October brings the challenge where neighbors go all out to show off creepy decor and fill.
This one's ready to dry. The purple is glued, so I'll take the elastics off. And in the gap, take the leftover purple and fill in all the cracks. As I fill, I'm going to feather the edges right down as far as I can.
Graveyard with zombies rising high, while Mrs. Lee's old scarecrow winks with a glowing eye. It's the Haunted Yard Showdown every October night, with witches and with goblins.
I filled in all the edges and any other place that I wanted to fill in, and now I'm going to let this dry. The foam clay to cover the seam dried. Then I took them outside. I first used a 60 grit sanding sponge, and then I moved to a 100 grit sanding sponge, and I'm going to show you the difference. The pink skull was covered with the Mod Podge at the beginning when it was wet, and you can see right now there is a color difference in between. Everything is smooth, but there's a color difference. So I'll have to see what it looks like when I put the same Mod Podge on over top and it dries. I'll see what the difference is at that time. Even though sanding foam clay is very easy, this was more difficult to sand because it had the Mod Podge over top. You'll still see some little bits that I could fill in on a second round. For my purposes, this is good. It's all very smooth. The goal is to get the edges feathered so that you can't feel them. It's just smooth right across. You might see a difference, but when you put your finger on it, it's nice and smooth. The purple one was the one that did not have Mod Podge on it, and you can see it just sanded so much better. This was super fast and easy to sand, and I just made sure I went over the entire skull very quickly to make sure that it was all the same color. I really liked sanding the one that did not have the Mod Podge on it. For the purple skull, I'm going to use the Mod Podge Super Gloss. I do like to use this one better than the Mod Podge Gloss, which I used on the pink, and that's because this one doesn't need an acrylic top coat in the end. So when you use Mod Podge, whether it's gloss or the matte, it can stay tacky. So if you're trying to pack things away for the season, you might end up getting your tissue paper stuck to them, or you might get pieces that stick together. So with this Mod Podge, I would still have to put an acrylic clear coat over top of that. This saves that step.
Carving foam with diamond deer, pumpkin spikes and spooky cheer. Fake baked diaries we revere, glowing apples drawing near. In the night go softly hum, witches cackle beat the drum. Shadows dance and goblins come, foam apples glowing everyone. Spooky sounds in the dark.
I'll leave these two to dry, flip them over, do the other side, let that dry, and then I'll be back. Both of these skulls turned out well, but they both also have some pros and cons. I think that the size and the detail on the pink one turned out much better than the purple one. I left the foam clay in the silicone mold for a week and just let it dry, and it shrunk and shrunk. So because I put the foam spray in after it dried, there was no pressure that pushed the clay back into the mold. So the clay shrunk more than it would have with the spray foam in it. That means I lost detail and I lost size as well. What I really liked about this one is how beautifully it turned out because I did not Mod Podge it while it was still wet. I waited until everything was dry, I sanded it, and then I put Mod Podge on it at the end. And this one turned out seamless. Wait until the very end to put your Mod Podge on. Now for the pink one, I liked everything that I did to it except that I Mod Podged it. That just made it impossible to fix them to the quality that I normally like to have. But otherwise, the size of the head and the details came out really great. Join me next time when I show you what I do with a basic skull.
In my kitchen late last night, planning mischief under moonlight.